This is Mousetrap. It was originally created by Marvin Glass and Gordon Barlow in the early 60s. They sold production rights to Ideal, who had their designer Hank Kramer rework and refine the game before its original 1963 release. Now, interestingly enough, the Rube Goldberg-style machine that makes up the heart and soul of this game was so complicated that it took the US Patent Office until 1967 to grant the patent that Marvin Glass and Associates had filed for in 1962. I thought it would be really fun to compare this 1986 edition to this 1999 edition and see who had the better mousetrap, 80s babies or 90s babies. Thanks so much to Meets Expectations for making this video possible. They're a family-owned jerky company out of Nebraska. That's right, jerky, and not just any kind of jerky, nostalgic jerky. If you check out their website using my affiliate link down below, their line of jerky that they're releasing coming up next month is all 80s themed. They've got their signature beef jerky and they're launching their new Blaze and Glaze pork jerky. They actually sent me advanced samples to try out, which I sampled with a members only video so people could see my live reaction, and it was really good despite being in kind of scary packaging because they didn't have the retail packs available. Now, pre-orders are starting this weekend on the 25th, and product will begin shipping in the beginning of August. If you would like to check out some tasty high-protein snacks, use my affiliate link in the description or my affiliate code OLDCOUCH when you visit meetsexpectations.com. Now let's hop right into this review, starting with the 1986 Mousetrap and its iconic box art of these two cute kids enjoying the game. I always get a kick out of the little boy with that huge smile. I don't know why, but it makes me laugh every time. When we flip the box over, we see some close-ups of the game's components. It's a lift-off top box, and it has a ton of available open space to store all of the game's parts. And when we look at the 1999 edition, we see that this one has a little bit brighter and more colorful art, though there aren't any kids pictured on the front. Now it's just these friendly cartoon mice. I still think that it's a really nice package, and I actually, in particular, like the font that they chose for the titling Mousetrap. It has all these little gears and spirals. It really nods to the Rube Goldberg machine that's, again, the heart and soul of this game. When we flip the box over, we see on the backside there are some kids enjoying playing the game, and we get a nice close-up of the game board itself. This one is also a lift-off top box that has plenty of storage room for all of the game's components. When we compare boards, the 1986 has this lovely fold-in-half board here with taped edges. And look at this gorgeous hand-drawn art. I love this. This is a total throwback to the era in which it was made. Little touches like the napping mouse with his tail through the little hole in the cheese and the angry dog with the spiked collar. This is just really cool. It actually kind of reminds me of Schoolhouse Rock type animation and that art style there. When we compare it to the 1999 has much brighter and more vibrant art, albeit this nice white background with the blue fade in the center really cleans it up. Now, when we compare the actual spaces, they all have the same values. So it's just a different art style, but there's the same number of spaces with the same instructions on them. And the rules have not changed between 1986 and 1999. So we are really looking at a major facelift as far as art is concerned and nothing else. Now, another detail is the 1999 edition has a quarter fold board. I'm not as big of a fan of quarter fold boards as they tend to warp more easily than boards that fold in half. However, Mousetrap is a bit of an exception as both of these boards have holes punched in them as a function of the game. These holes are anchor points for the game's components to lock into as players assemble the trap while playing the game. These holes cut into the board leave exposed tag board, which is susceptible to moisture being absorbed from the air due to humidity, and that can cause the boards to warp very easily. This 86 board did require some pressing before it fit together nicely. This 99 board I'm constantly fighting with since I acquired it. It's just not quite there. You can even see a little lift, I'm sure, on camera. That's something that annoys me, but is pretty minor. When we compare the components of the Rube Goldberg machine are largely the same. However, I noticed some really small differences. One of which is the 86 uses this large plastic ball, clearly with some sort of metal core or weighted core at the top of the helping hands, which drops into the rub-a-dub tub and will eventually fall on the seesaw, launching the man into the pan and dropping the little cage on the mouse here. Now, when we move over to the 99 edition, that large plastic ball is replaced with just a simple ball bearing, which I actually think works more reliably. Functionally, everything is the same. All of the parts are the same and located in the same spots on the board, but I do notice that there are components that are comprised of lighter and heavier plastic between the two versions of the game. So the molds have definitely changed or been updated. For instance, the diver looks almost identical, but when you really look close, you can see that the diver is made of thinner, lighter plastic in the 99, but by a very tiny margin. Whereas if you compare the cages, the cage in the 1986 edition is much lighter and more flexible than the cage in the 99 edition. When we look at the mice, we get the same color range of mice. However, the 86 mice have these nice long swooping tails, and the mice from 1999 have little short stubby tails. I also noticed that the molding wasn't as precise in the 99 edition, leaving some unsightly lines from the casting process on our mice. Now, the little cheese wedges are about the same, but of course different art style. In 86, the little holes look like hand drawings, whereas in 99, that looks more airbrush or possibly even digital. I don't think the art was rendered digitally for the 99, but it is quite possible. The art style is funny. The 86 reminds me of like Schoolhouse Rock, whereas the 99 is almost a nod to like Don Bluth era Disney characters, which I thought was kind of cool. Both use a regular D6 six-sided die. It's numbered with pips ranging 1 through 6. So all of the components are largely the same. The rules are the same. Players race around the outer periphery of this board. When they land on these numbered spaces, it indicates which parts they assemble on this Rube Goldberg style trap. When they reach the loop near the end, which is under that cage, that's when players will spend the cheese that they accrued throughout the game to try to move their opponents under the trap whenever they land on the turn the crank space, giving them the opportunity to trap their opponent and win. That also allows them to claim that opponent's cheese and use that cheese to push other opponents underneath the cage. Now, in my previous review for Mousetrap, where I compared the 86 to the 2021 edition, which features some radical redesigns, I pointed out that I felt that the cheese was largely pointless in the 1986 edition, and I still think it's kind of a superfluous addition. Thematically, it fits and gives players a little more agency. The original 1963 edition was pretty much just a roll and move. You were at the mercy of your dice. So having the cheese dynamic does allow you to try to sabotage the opposition. However, that being said, everybody accrues so much cheese by the time they get to that part that everybody's kind of on a level playing field anyway. So it really serves as just a way of speeding up the second act of the game, which I can understand doing, because the second act of the game, you're pretty much stuck in this little loop in one corner of the board, everybody waiting patiently, hoping for their chance to set the trap off. Now, it is in the rules that if the trap fails to spring completely, that mouse is safe and free. You're not caught just because the trap was set off when you were under it. The cage actually has to drop and trap your mouse. And I have had some pretty dramatic plays. In fact, I've seen the cage not make it all the way down and make it like halfway down the little post there. Now, I know that everybody has been waiting to see me set these off and see if there's any major difference. So just for fun, let's try to race these guys here, okay? 1, 2. Oh! 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 I couldn't have planned it better if I tried. And this is the first time I've seen this malfunction on this one, where the ball bearing got stuck on the rickety stairs. Let's just try this one more time here. Let's see if it'll go. Oh, twice in a row. There we go. We'll give it a little nudge. Okay, historically, the trap has always been pretty unpredictable. I mean, even the rules account for the trap not actually setting off properly. And don't worry, I'll include some pictures or I should say not pictures, some B-reel of the trap going off correctly. We all know I've reviewed Mousetrap enough to have some extra footage for you. In fact, I've also reviewed the Elephant and Friends edition, as well as the world's smallest edition. Now, before we get too far, I also want to compare the rules. In '99, a little bit out of order, we're going with the newer one. You get this big fold out here, which has obviously stood the test of time. It's bond paper, it's not sealed, everything's easy to read. In '86, we get basically the same thing, just printed in a single color green, but it's a much smaller, more concise fold out. In my opinion, easier to handle. So that is a win for the 1986 edition. So I gotta ask, which edition of Mousetrap did you grow up with? Which one do you think is the coolest? And are there some editions that I should get on here and review? Comment below and let me know. I'd love to hear your suggestion. Thanks so much to my couch potatoes, the channel members who make awesome episodes like this possible. You guys rock. And thank you for joining me today. I love reviewing these little nostalgic treats with you, and I can't wait to do it again next time.